Hello, good afternoon. My name's Ian and I'd like to welcome you to our presentation. Today we'll be looking at some of the highlights of the latest release of the Priority ERP system. I'll be using version 18.1 with a web or rich interface as we call it, which is a prerequisite for the new functionality. I'm not going to attempt to show all the new features as they are too numerous for this brief presentation, and all are detailed in the release notes which you can download using the webinar menu. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Either type your question directly, or if you prefer to speak, then raise your hand and you'll be unmuted to ask a question. Also, please fill out the survey that will be sent out after the webinar such that we know how to improve things for next time. And finally, please visit our webinar site to view previous webinars, upcoming events, and what you would like to see in future presentations. The address is webinar.meditechuk.com. Okay, that's the formalities out of the way. Let's get on with the show. Hopefully, you can all see my desktop. This is my user page, my login. We're going to start off by looking at the new internal collaboration tool, Priority Talk. For this example, I'm going to use a sales order, but the tool can be used with any document within Priority. For those of you unfamiliar with the rich interface, you may notice that one of the shortcut tiles has a number in the corner. These tiles give me access to forms, reports, procedures, but as a visual prompt, in much the same way as you have with social media, if I see a tile with a number in the corner, it means that that's for my attention. So let's open that up. And we'll see that there is a sales order. So by selecting the zoom button, I can zoom in to that sales order. And the first thing I want to do is to mark the document for tracking. There's a tracking icon up here, a little bell. If I select this, this will mark it for tracking. Tracking isn't a new feature, it's been in the system for a while, but the collaboration tool is new. So once I've marked it for tracking, then I can choose to share, and I can select the followers that I wish to add to this collaboration. In this case, I'm going to select Christine and perhaps Andy. Okay. Now if we look on the other side of the screen, we'll see that I have this notification icon. If I open it up, then there's now an entry for this sales order. If we look in here, we can see that this is now set for Simon, Andrew, and Christine. And I can come into the comment area and type the comment I wish to make. So let's say, please could you confirm pricing, and then as soon as I hit reply, that will appear in the notification area of the other users. So if we now switch user to a different user, in this case Christine, then you'll see we have notification here that there's a message, and if we open this, we can see that this sales order is referenced and it's highlighted with a notification that there's a comment. So in here, Christine could reply, check pricing, excuse my typing, looks good. Okay, that will then instantly appear in here, and obviously there will be a notification when we go back into the other login. So let's come out of there. Incidentally, if I wanted to keep that notification area pinned, I just opened it up, but it could be pinned onto the edge of the screen if you wish, and it will sort out all of the spacing of the other boxes, the fields, and so on. And we can see now that there's a reply, and we can deal with that. Okay, thanks. Okay. If I wanted to add other users to the collaboration, we can add a user here. And similarly, if I wanted to unfollow, we can click this item and it will unfollow this particular sales order. If I didn't have the sales order open, if I was looking at my general notifications, then in addition to opening and looking at the conversation, if we click the reference at the top, it will take us directly to that part quotation. So we don't have to copy and paste numbers to get to there. Obviously, if we want to look through the dialogue, in addition to it being listed here in the chat window, there is a new subform for internal dialogue where you can see the complete history of the conversation with comments and timestamp, date and timestamped automatically is here. So we have a record of that conversation, and it's a great way of collaborating on documents without using Messenger or other devices, because it's linked and you can click straight through. Okay, let's go back to the home page and look at the next new feature. This is an enhanced user interface tool called Quick Insight, or QI. And QI is designed to provide users with real-time analytics on their home page. If we have a look in executive reports, you'll see now that there are portlets, and currently there are 10 available. But it's likely, well, it's very likely that additional portlets will be added in future updates. To access the portlets, there's a new icon here, which used to be the dustbin, and if you wanted to remove a tile, you used to drag this over to the dustbin. Now, if I want to remove a tile, click and delete, whereas now this is access to the portlets. So let's say, for example, once we've got our list, this is allows me to select the desired topic to display. So I might choose sales orders, open sales orders, and then the portlet is opened in our home page. We can open multiple portlets if required, and then we can move them around, and it will move all the other things along with it. They can also be dragged into a preferred location. And in here, the pull down allows me to select the search or the format. So let's say I want to look by the part top 10, and it would change the graph automatically. And I can drill into the data either by holding over the column and clicking, and that will take me straight into the data. It's opened up in another window. So that will take me straight through into the BI report for that. Also, if I wanted, I could open that up as a full window. So there's a lot of data there. Then let me drag it in. Once again, we have the full window, which has the link across into the BI. It's just a little bit slow on it. Okay. To remove these, delete. And once again, if we have the message window open, then it rearranges the icons for us and moves the portlet automatically. So it's a great way of seeing live data the moment that we log in to Priority. Really, we want immediate notifications, so that's why the numbers on the side of the tiles is useful, and this will give us live information as soon as we go to our home screen. Okay, let's move that back and talk about the next new feature, which is the application generator. Now for this, for the first part, I'm just going to use a couple of slides. Let me switch that the other way around. Okay. The application generator gives us the ability to access Priority from our mobile devices, Android device or iPhone, and so on. Effectively, the applications are generated from within Priority, which require no programming skills. In addition to viewing information, we're able to edit or make new records, and we could also run direct activations that do not require input. For example, convert quote to sales order or finalize an invoice. So how do we go about generating an application? In Priority, there's a new form called, unsurprisingly, Application Generator. And in here, we can define the application name and select the appropriate language. And within there, then, we specify the form and form columns that can be accessed by the app. We can then add any applications and procedures. As I mentioned, finalize invoice is one option. And then we generate and distribute the QR code. Okay, once we've generated the app, deployment is very straightforward. Download the free Priority Master application from your App Store and install onto your device. Once you have it installed, open up the email or message sent from Priority, which will contain the QR code, and use the Master app to scan the code. It really is as simple as that. That's it. Off you go, and you can use that application. Okay, that's the theory. Let's have a look at the practice. So we'll go back to our home page, and I've put a shortcut on here for Application Generator. I believe it resides in Generators, Applications, Application Generator. Let's run it. And we'll load up some apps. Okay, so you'll see I've got a number of applications defined here. We could write a new one. Let's say I'm going to write one called Leads, for example. Give it a title and select the language from the pull-down list. Let's go for British English. So once we've done this in the top level, we'll move to the sub-level where we can select which form or forms and procedure we wish to use. So you could have a number of forms from which we take the data. So in here, for example, let's take the customers. Select the type. The type could be a form or a procedure or a report. And then within that form, we identify the information that we wish to use, whether we preview it or record or search. So we can just tick on these here. And that's now selected the columns in the form for the application. If we move back up to one we've created earlier, then here you see we have a customer form which is using two subforms, both customers, and we're using this information, the name, number, assigned to, and so on. But we're also using a separate form, the phone book, to bring back the various phone numbers for this little app. Okay, once we have added the forms and columns, the next operation is to refresh the application. We're going to do this using a direct activation, so refresh application, and there we receive notification that the program has been completed. The next thing we need to do is to distribute that. The way that we do that is by sending link to app. And we can select, if we wish to select a user, a specified user on the system, or to an email address. I've selected email address. I'm going to send it to myself. And if I check my inbox, then in a few seconds, I should get the email. Okay, so if we open that up, there's now an attachment, which is the Q code. So it really is that simple. I now use my Priority Master app to scan that Q code, and we are ready to go with the defined app. So it really is very straightforward to do. It doesn't require any skills, any programming skills rather. It just gives you access to get into your Priority system, either to retrieve, update, modify, or run direct activations, as I said. Okay, now that's taken me up to my 15 minutes, which was about what we're aiming for. We've now got the opportunity to open up the forum to any questions. Let me do that. Either raise your hand using the webinar bar or type them directly in the questions. And I have got some colleagues with me to assist if anybody would like to ask any questions. Now would be a good time to do it. As I mentioned, the release notes are available to download from the webinar toolbar. Any questions? Not seeing anything yet. So we have a question. Let me have a look. Okay, Timothy, I believe you have a question. I've unmuted you.
Yes, I'm in the quality department. Is there anything specific in this for me?
In quality, yes. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you what, but it will be in the release notes. Rather than me plow through them, I suggest the best thing to do is let me have a look through, and I will contact you directly.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem. I believe we have a question from Mark. Okay, there's a couple of questions here that have been raised. First question is, do we need the BI module to have access to the portlets? Yes, you do. It's part of the BI system. Next question, are additional licenses required for these new features? The app generator requires the API license. I can see that somebody else has a question on licensing. It can get a bit tricky on licensing because it depends on what you have currently. So if it's a licensing question, please can we contact you directly after this to answer those questions. Just having a look back at the list. Okay, thank you. Let me have a look. Any other questions? I've not seen any more questions, so if everybody is happy, then I thank you for joining. Thanks for your time. Please feel free to call us if you'd like to see anything in more detail. We can always do a one-on-one webinar for you if there's a specific question. And those of you that have asked for a call back, we'll get back to you straight away. Thank you very much.